blast off. Welcome all to the Black Column Podcast. I am the crew philosopher here.
And I'm Shannon.
Yes, we are here once again to bring you another episode of us discussing what is going on in politics and news. Shannon, how was your week since we last spoke to each other?
It was good. How was yours?
It was, it's tough to say. I don't know. Good sounds like the wrong word to use, but it wasn't bad.
I mean, I'm alive, So if you're alive, it's good. As the world burns down around you.
I don't subscribe to that ideology, by the way, that if you're alive, that life is going well.
I mean, not necessarily, but I mean,
yes, I rather would be alive than dead. That is true. But I'm just saying, it's been okay. Like I said, I don't know. Life is in a funny place for me right now because it's like things aren't back to normal yet. But I don't know. It's weird. Did I take my job email me the other day?
What'd they say? They want you to come back to work?
So they emailed me. Well, but I knew it was coming as soon as we had the conversation about New York State allowing theaters to open at 25% capacity. And so my job emailed me saying that, hey, good news, we're allowed to reopen again. So they wanted to see how many of the employees were interested in coming back. And then they said, okay, once they have the list of employees, they're going to have to, talk to management about when they were going to reopen, right? So just because they're reopening in the state doesn't mean that they're going to reopen, the theater where they are, because they have to look at cost and all of that stuff and, blah, 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 blah. I can easily see them waiting until 50% capacity before they would reopen the theater, but who knows? Mm-hmm. So,
did you email them and say you were interested in coming back?
Yeah, I told them I was, but I did ask them because my job, we do serve food. So I was wondering if there was like some loophole where we would somehow be considered like a restaurant, because I remember them saying that they were allowing restaurant employees to be considered essential, but she said no. So,
oh, damn.
Who knows? Yeah. But then I'm like, do I even want to come back? That's another thing. Because if I'm getting paid hourly, right? And there's no way they're going to have us working our regular shifts, like where we was working like 8, maybe sometimes 9 hours, 4 or 5 days a week, because we don't have the customers for that.
Yeah.
We don't need that many people. And so if a disproportionate number of people want to come back, right? Like, let's say if 80% of the workforce that we had before wants to come back, but we're not having anywhere near that traffic, that much traffic on a day-to-day basis, including the weekends, then I'm not going to be working my usual hours, which means I could be in a position where I end up bringing in less weekly than I would be on like unemployment.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's like, okay, well, if I get off unemployment to go work, but I'm bringing in less money than I was if I'm on unemployment.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck am I doing? So, I don't know. And then I was thinking about life in general. I was telling my brother that he's a recreation manager, something like that, where he goes to parks and he kind of evaluates, what equipment in the parks need to be updated or whatever. And I was like, I never heard that career when I was in high school or like, college. Like, how do you even hear about that? And I was telling him that, I've been trying to look for a quote unquote like backup career for my life. Something that was more real, meaning I could go to school, I could get a degree, and I can, pretty much know, not, you can never know, but you feel very, very confident that you'll be able to find a job in that field. And I was telling him that I just can't find anything that interests me at all. And so I was like, well, maybe I missed some stuff, but I don't know.
I mean, the workforce is uninspiring. Like nobody wants to work, but whatever. I mean, I guess some people do, but
yeah, like some people have like a desire to be like in law. So, it's like if you wanted to be a lawyer, then there's like a path for you. Some people want to be in medicine. Me, I don't know. I just don't find that stuff. I couldn't see me doing it until I die. I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable. But it's not about me. This is not Jabai's therapy session. This is the Black Column Podcast. We are here. We have news to get into. Shannon has a personal vendetta against the governor of Texas because of his mask policies, I guess.
Oh, I mean, I don't have a vendetta. I don't have a vendetta because I don't live in Texas, but like I feel bad for the people of Texas, the sensible people of Texas that know that this is crazy. So the governor of Texas, what's his name?
His
It's
name
not
was
even important to
was
me.
it
It's not
Greg
even important.
Abbott?
It's not important to me. Yeah, whatever. So the governor of Texas, he is lifting the mask mandate and opening all businesses to 100% capacity. And this to me just sounds, and this is going against CDC recommendations. Everyone has basically told him that this is not a good idea, but here he is doing it anyway. And I just feel like that's dumb. These Republican senators that are, or governors that are, running these states are not making decisions with the interest of the people in mind. And I just feel really bad for people in Texas.
So here's what I want to say real quick. I told Shannon before the show that I feel like the media did not portray Greg Abbott's position in an honest and fair fashion. Right now, is it true that he's rescinding the mask mandate? Absolutely. Is it true? Is it true that that is going against the CDC guidelines? Absolutely. However, when I was reading the article that Shannon put in our
Rundown.
our rundown notes, his position seemed a lot more reasonable than advertised. So I was doing the recent parts of the article that Shannon put in there that I think add some context, right? And so I guess he gave a press conference when he announced that he was rescinding the mask mandate. And by the way, the rescission starts. Is that a word? Rescission. It takes effect March 10th, so that's going to be next Wednesday, right? And he says businesses don't need the state to tell them how to operate. If COVID hospitalizations stay above 15% for 7 straight days, a county judge may use mitigation strategies in their county, such as face masks. Judges may not enforce penalties for county-wide face mask restrictions, Abbott says. Make no mistake, COVID-19 has not disappeared, but it is clear from the recoveries, vaccinations, reduced hospitalizations, and safe practices that Texans are using that state mandates. I read that wrong. Make no mistake, COVID-19 has not disappeared, but it is clear from the recoveries, vaccinations, reduced hospitalizations, and safe practices that Texas are using that state mandates are no longer needed. Now is the right time for Texas to be fully reopened because Texas has the ability to administer over 100,000 COVID-19 tests per day, and there are antibody treatments, he said as of Tuesday. The state has under a 9% positivity rate. Okay. And then he goes into the fact that, more vaccines are coming. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is just approved. By the end of the month, every senior who wants a vaccine shot will be able to get a vaccine shot. And he said within a few months, every Texan who wants a vaccine shot will be able to get a vaccine shot. And Shannon is right that health experts, epidemiologists are against his relaxation of the mask policies. But I do think we have miscategorized his position. It's been a while since that happened. It's been a while.
Sorry, I'm back.
It's fine. So yeah, so we can go back and forth on what we think about him getting rid of the mask mandate. But don't you think from reading that article that it is kind of ridiculous to say that his position is don't wear masks and go out there and get sick?
Wait, what? What was the last part you said?
I'm saying, don't you think it's unreasonable to, after reading this article and hearing his comments, isn't it unreasonable to think that his position is don't wear masks, run out there and get sick? Because that's not what I hear when I read these comments.
No. I guess you're right.
Yeah. You have to remember, he's a Republican, so he already philosophically disagrees with government forcing people to do X, Y, and Z. And so his position is probably, hey, mask mandates, in his political opinion, are a step too far. People know the science. People know that the virus is still out there. People know.
But that's the thing though. There are too many people that already don't want to wear masks and don't think that wearing a mask does anything. So when you're telling people that they don't have to wear masks anymore, then you have all these people that don't want to wear masks out there not wearing masks and putting other people at risk. So
Perhaps that said, remember what I told you, Shannon. When you're doing these things, you have to weigh freedom and safety on opposite sides of the scale, right? And so, in his mind, what he's saying is that look, we have vaccines now, we have therapeutics, and for me, the part that is maybe even more troubling to the mask mandate. Look, if you're somebody who has a brain, I don't think you'll be going out there without a mask if you're not vaccinated. And for me, right?
yeah.
Uh,
But again, like wearing a mask doesn't protect you from getting coronavirus from somebody else 100%. It only protects you or your own germs from traveling to someone else. So if you're outside and you're still wearing a mask and you happen to be around a bunch of people that are not wearing masks because they don't want to, then that is also putting you at risk.
True, but then again, it is also your decision to go into crowded areas, right? And so if you
But
know
what
that
if I have to go into crowded areas?
where would you have to go?
The grocery store, literally anywhere where there's people.
Number one, you don't have to go to a grocery store. That's number one. Number two, you don't have to go there. You can get groceries delivered. You can go at odd hours where it'll be less people in the grocery store.
Okay, but why do I now have to do all that because somebody told me that they're lifting the mask? You know what I mean? Like people should be able to go out of their houses and feel safe while we're still in the middle of a pandemic. I just feel like the fact that we're in a pandemic should mean something, and that should.
I'm not necessarily against what you're saying, but I just want you to realize that the reason why you feel that way is because politically you don't have an issue with forcing people to do things if it improves what you think is the benefit of the greater good, right? That's kind of your political ideology. It's why you believe in locking up Black and brown people for drugs.
Shut up! I don't. No, I don't. Shut up.
But look, some people in this country, Republicans, they are more concerned with individual freedom. Like the right to move how you want to move, to wear what you want to wear, etc.
I mean, okay, I'm all for individual freedoms and such, but I feel like while we're still in a pandemic, I feel like that should not be a relevant argument.
Yeah, so you don't believe in individual freedom.
I do, but just not in like a time of a pandemic. We're still in like a global emergency, technically. So I feel like while that's going on, I feel like it's not really the productive thing to do to tell people that they don't have to wear masks if they don't want to, or they can open their business to 100% if they want to, because that's not going to help us in the long run.
Well, we'll see. Look, one of the great things about America is we are a collection of states, really, right? Mm-hmm. It's what separates us from many other Western countries where yes, we have a federal government, but really the way we are designed to operate is for each one of these separate states to almost run like their own country, pretty much. As well, you have different responses to the coronavirus in different locations in the country. And so, look, Shannon, all we gotta do is wait and watch. Right now, okay. we know they're gonna open up March 10th. All you have to do is look at what happens 2 weeks from March 10th. A month from March 10th, you'll be able to see death rates and things of that nature. And then we can say, okay, well, uplifting the mask mandate is a horrible idea. But it could turn out that it was actually a pretty good idea. The people who were at risk might still stay home. The people who don't agree with him getting rid of the mask mandate might self-segregate and remove themselves from crowded places. Because once again, if I'm not vaccinated, I'm not going anywhere that is packed.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere. Exactly. I'm not going to the doctor. I'm not going to the grocery store. I'm not going to a restaurant. I'm not going to see any movie. No, I'm not doing that. But I'm making that decision for myself and my family. So if somebody else wants to be out there and be dumb, cool, go ahead and do that. But this allows us as other states to watch what's happening in Texas and also Mississippi. And then this way we can decide, okay, that was a disaster. We're not going to do that. Right.
Okay.
And so all I'm saying is, let's just let Mr. Abbott have his declaration, he's saying a bunch of stuff. All we have to do is sit back and watch.
It's times like this that makes me really glad that I don't live in a red state. Are you okay?
I'm trying to think of which state I would rather live in, because blue states suck too.
I mean, yes, but in terms of this specific instance, I'm glad I don't live in a red state.
I don't know. The red states seem popping. Florida, Georgia.
Do you see what happens in Florida on a daily? Do you read the news stories that come out of there? Florida is a whack state. I don't know what you're talking about. But
it's hot. It has great food.
It's too humid out there. Listen.
I know. Me personally, I prefer like dry heat, like maybe Phoenix, someplace like that. But I'm just saying, like blue states though. I mean, New York is. Look, I'm over New York. I had a conversation with my father today about how do people move? Do they get a job first, or do they get an apartment? And he was telling me, it kind of depends.
Get a job first. It depends on how much savings you have, really.
That's what he said. He said, well, I mean, if you can afford to, then you can get a place out there and then try to look for work. But most people, they get the job and then they go down, usually like stay with a friend or whatnot, and then they get a place. Because I'm over New York City, man. I'm over New York City. I have no desire to remain in this place any longer. I mean, a day longer. A day long. I don't want to be here, right? What other blue states are there? What Pennsylvania? You think Pennsylvania's a great state, Shannon?
I don't know anything about Pennsylvania. I don't want to live there. Maybe Philadelphia. I like Philadelphia, but nowhere else in Pennsylvania would I live.
Have you ever been to Philadelphia?
I have been to Philadelphia.
For longer than 2 days?
No. I think the most I've been there is like 3 days, 3 or 4.
Okay. All right. I was there for like maybe a weekend and some change, so I get it. I'm just saying, the blue state, red state stuff, I don't know how true that holds, because some red states do some phenomenal stuff. Like, in some respects, they're more progressive than blue states. Like, what was the state that decriminalized all drugs? Is that red or blue?
Was it red? I don't know.
I don't remember, because that was very, very good. And there are some red states that are doing that. They, they're doing like criminal justice reform and all that stuff before blue states. So who knows?
I'm trying to find a list of blue states.
Blue states. I mean, we know,
like, not with the abbreviations, because
we know it's coastal. So everything on the coast, northeast is blue.
Yeah.
Everything on the west coast is blue. It's pretty much the south and the middle of the country that's the red states. So who knows? But let us move on to our next topic of discussion, which is Andrew Cuomo, who's been in the news for all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons. The House of
Andrew
Cards.
Cuomo, who some praise as a hero of the pandemic in the early months.
You know what's crazy? I'm one of those people. I'm going to tell this story here.
Oh, so was I. I really appreciated him. I did.
Yeah. I thought I had COVID at the start of the pandemic. Like, I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I wasn't getting in all my oxygen.
Was that anxiety?
It was, somebody told me who went to school with us. I think she DM'd me or commented under something that I put, where she said, I think it was a DM, where she said that what I'm going through sounds more like anxiety.
Yeah, I think I was going through that as well. When you're going through like deep anxiety, like you have like chest constrictions and you feel like you can't really breathe or anything.
Yeah, I feel like I wasn't getting all my oxygen. Like, even when I was taking a shower, I feel like I was, not breathing right. It got so bad for me. I went to the hospital. Got x-rays on my lungs.
Really?
Yeah. That's how far it went for me.
Yeah, but that just sounds like, I was experiencing that too at the beginning, just because I was so afraid of everything that was going on. And then I had to, like, for a while, sorry, I'm going on a tangent. For a while, I had to, like, I deleted Facebook off my phone because I was seeing all these headlines. Of like people dying and stuff like that. But once I did that, I started to feel better, like, in life. But like stuff like that at the beginning, it was really bad.
I couldn't help myself because I was just afraid of everyone outside. I was afraid of people inside the house because my dad works he works in a hospital. So I thought if I'm gonna die, it's gonna be because of him. Bring something back to me. And so I was really, really messed up. And unlike you, I couldn't stay away from the COVID news because I wanted to know ways to, be good. So I was like researching every article. I was reading every paper. It was really, really bad. And then
I like to live in denial.
I wish I was like you, because then Cuomo started doing his daily COVID things, and that really gave me like a peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was because he was still giving me the same bad news that everyone else was giving me, but it's something just about like a consistent voice that is, giving you the facts, but not trying to make you afraid.
Mm-hmm.
That was very calming and soothing. And he
Mm-hmm.
was also like the opposite of Donald Trump, who was all over the place,
Yep.
who, you just had no trust in. Managing the pandemic was not something that Donald Trump had the ability to do because it just didn't fit his skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Versus someone like Cuomo, it fit his skill set. So he's someone who I found comfort in watching his daily, briefings. And then apparently it wasn't just me, it wasn't just you. It was like people across the country who were
Mm-hmm.
watching his stuff instead of
Yeah.
the Daily White House briefings because his felt more calm and more reassuring. And he would be honest. You would see the chart and you would see the deaths went from here to
Mm-hmm.
here and then to here. And you're like, God damn. But he was always, just being even keeled, and his tone was right. And he would just, okay, we want to get through this, and ventilators and all of that stuff. Um, and so we made him into kind of like a hero, pretty much,
Yeah.
or just some like king. Sounds hyperbolic, but just kind of he became kind of like the de facto
The COVID king.
leader,
You can call him the COVID king.
the COVID king. Yeah, he was like the COVID king for a while, right? And then the House of Cards started crashing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once the reports came out about his policies, about sending positive COVID, no, seniors who had COVID back into nursing homes, making it like a mandatory policy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that proved to be disastrous because it was very early on, and that's back when we didn't know how contagious somebody was after they quote unquote recovered. There was just a lot of unknowns. So sending old people who had COVID back into nursing homes where people are in the at risk group, it was just a bad policy to have.
Yep.
And then we learned that he was, that they didn't reveal the accurate numbers because they was afraid that Trump was going to go after them, so they was lying to the public. It just got really bad with the his handling of the pandemic. And so he's gone from a hero. I think he got an award for the way he handled the way he handled the pandemic.
Yeah.
He got an award, and now he is just getting dragged through the mud for how he handled COVID. And now, add on top of that, the sexual harassment allegations. But before we get there, we had the legislators in New York. They're looking to pass legislation that will kind of rescind the emergency powers that they gave Cuomo at the start of this pandemic because they didn't want him to be caught up in a bunch of red tape as he was trying to navigate certain things, right? And so usually to do certain things as governor, it's a lot like being president, where really you need the legislators to pass the bills and whatnot, and for you to sign them before the ball can get rolling. Versus in a pandemic, you have to move very, very swiftly. There's no time to be, having them debate this bill and between Congress men and women, and then it gets to you and you sign it. You need for the governor to almost act like a president with an executive
Mm-hmm.
order. And so they gave him that power so that he can navigate us through the pandemic. Now they're trying to pass legislation that will rescind some of that power. They're saying that it's not politically motivated. It's just, we are in a different spot of the pandemic. And so we feel like he doesn't need to have this level of power anymore. And we kind of want to reel it back in now.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. I think this is 100% politically motivated.
Of course.
They think that his handling of the nursing home was horrible. And it was horrible. Even if you're a fan of Cuomo, you have to admit, it was pretty bad knowing what we know now versus knowing what we knew back then. And so they're trying to save face because, elections are coming. People want to be on the right side of history. And so when they ask you, okay, well, what did you do when news came out that Andrew Cuomo pretty much lied to the to New Yorkers about his handling of the pandemic? You want to be able to say, well, I brought forth the bill, or I signed the bill asking us to take away those powers because we understand that we need to have accountability. Just that's how politicians think. You know,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought, were you thinking or were you like waiting for me to say something? I couldn't tell if you were done. Were you done?
Oh my bad. Go ahead.
Okay. That was really weird. Yeah, no, I absolutely believe that as well. The timing is suspicious. I mean, yes, we are at a kind of like less urgent part of the pandemic where we're kind of like, I want to say coming out of it, but not really. But also, this is also in the midst of everything else that's going on with Cuomo. So I do believe that this is 100% on purpose and just a step on their way to try to get him out of office because they do want, most people want him to resign, although he said he's not going to. But
Yeah, and so I guess now we can kind of segue into the sexual harassment stuff because that's really what he's been in the news for instead of his hand, which is wild to me. Isn't that wild to you? That
which part?
the thing that is getting Cuomo is not his handling of the pandemic; it's sexual harassment stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising anymore with the amount of people that have been accused of sexual harassment in this
But I'm just
age.
saying, isn't that crazy? No, I'm
Oh, you
saying
mean
this.
you mean like okay, yes, I agree. Yes, I understand
Yeah,
what you're saying.
because his handling of the pandemic is his actual job.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is his job to you know politically push the interests of the people.
Mm-hmm.
That's his actual job. News comes out that he did a horrible job handling the pandemic, but that's not what is causing him to say, I'm not going to resign. And
Yeah, it's
so
sexual.
him
Yeah.
failing at his actual job description is not what has him in the news. It's this other stuff that has him in the news.
Yep.
I find that to be just ridiculous, but I think that's on us because we just care about the salacious stuff significantly more than we care about the things that actually impact us.
Yep.
But to get into the harassment claims, so Cuomo has been accused. I think it was three women now.
Yeah.
Of sexual harassment claims. One, the claims are as follows. I don't know if these. Now, I'm going to just off the top of my head tell you what the claims are, but I don't know who said what, when, and all of that stuff, right? So it's multiple women. Is and the claims stem from inappropriate jokes. One woman said that she went up to his office and he kissed her without her consent. Another a woman at a wedding said that Andrew Cuomo had placed his hand down, the lower part of her body inappropriately. Uh, he one time I guess at some staff gathering he made a comment about playing strip poker. Right, like it was a bunch of weird creepy old man stuff that
Yeah.
doesn't sound shocking, but I want to defend Andrew Cuomo today on the podcast, and I'm going to do so without destroying my own credibility as a man. Right.
Okay, let's hear it.
Right. So Shannon's going to partake in this as well. So Shannon, I want to ask you a question. Pre-COVID,
Pre-COVID.
right? Did you work around coworkers in a manner where there was a lot of conversation that took place?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you got your job, did you guys take a sexual, harassment, class?
No, I don't remember. Honestly, it was so long ago.
Okay, well, there goes Shannon. All right, we get it. So
I think we do have to take, I think every quarter we do have to take like an online sexual harassment thing. That takes like 30 minutes, but I don't remember if I got one like during orientation.
Okay, so while you were there though, did you ever take one?
Like an online training thing?
Yeah, for sexual harassment.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you remember some of the actions that can fall under harassment?
Yeah. Inappropriate jokes, suggestive humor. Obviously like physical stuff.
That's assault. We're talking about harassment.
Oh, yes. Mostly inappropriate jokes, suggestive humor, and I don't know, solicitation. I don't know.
Yeah, so those three, and also
I can't remember anything else.
uh, uh, any commentary of an unprofessional manner that can be perceived by somebody
Yeah, yeah.
to be inappropriate, right? And so, pretty much, what has happened post Me Too, uh, a lot of HR departments have pretty much rewritten. Now, so corporations have always had, not always, but in like the last 30 years, most corporations have had sexual harassment policies. Now, they've been very, very narrow. And so what happened, during the Me Too movement, HR departments began to kind of rewrite the language to make the net a little bit more broad, right? That's where you get the last one where, where harassment can be um, uh, any commentary that is not related to work that can be perceived by the person to be harassment. You can get your ass called to HR for that as well. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I too, Shannon, worked at multiple jobs and where conversation amongst employees take place all the time. So, Shannon, while you were an employee, I'm not going to, tell you to name anybody, but um, were there ever any conversations which, under the rules and regulations that you just stated, were violated? Do you ever remember coworkers making inappropriate jokes? Do
I
you
mean,
do?
yeah, coworkers make inappropriate jokes all the time. I just know that,
Thank
like,
you, thank you.
Yeah.
No, I don't want you to say, and I'm especially to be honest, because same thing for me. And here's the thing, though, my last two places of employment were under predominantly female leadership, meaning women bosses, women managers, women supervisors, uh, in both cases, but definitely my last one. I also inappropriate jokes, inappropriate commentary. I go as far as to say inappropriate touching between coworkers.
Oh, I don't know about all that.
No, but hold on. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that the coworkers had a problem with it. I'm just saying, by the letter of the law and the eyes of HR, that umbrella, you know, um, coworkers hugging me longer than they need to, rubbing my shoulders. All of these things happen at work. I'm glad you admitted to it happening at your job, as it has happened in mine all the time. Even amongst women, the amount of disgusting commentary that I've had to work through from women talking, recapping some dude that they had sex with last week or whatever is incredible. But these things happen at work for a number of reasons. Reason number one, most of us, if you work full time, but even part time, because part time just means what, under 40 hours?
Yeah, I think it has to be 25 and under, or 30 and under.
Yeah, so it's like so under 30 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so even if you're a part-time employee, you are still most likely spending more time around your coworkers than you are your family and your friends. And so what happens is coworkers begin to fall under a category I like to call acquaintance, right? So they're not really your friends, meaning you wouldn't call them up to hang out, when you're not at work, but they're your friends at work. You like them, you like them being there. You guys talk about things you shouldn't talk about. You feel a certain level of intimacy at work. That's where the phrase "work wife" comes from. Work husband. I had a work wife, a woman who at the job, my mood would feel better when she was there, right? And so when you're super familiar with certain people, that is when conversations at work become inappropriate.
Yep.
Because you have conversations at work that you would have with your friends if you are around them, but just spending so much time around these coworkers, they begin to become proxy friends.
Yeah.
And so that's where you get the inappropriate jokes. That's where you get the inappropriate conversations at work. I mean, we had a conversation. I'm thinking about it one time. We was popping popcorn for like an event. We had a conversation about uh like sexy men in Hollywood.
But it's different though, because you wouldn't have that conversation with your boss, So
No,
like,
but
and it brings a different level of.
But I had it with my supervisor.
Okay. Well, that also listen. I feel
No,
like
no.
this is a whole thing that can be like you can dive into this, and there's a whole bunch of different variables which will make you feel comfortable with having
But
those
no,
kind
no,
of
no.
conversations with your
I'm not
supervisor.
saying, but I'm not saying what Cuomo did was appropriate.
Yeah,
What he
that's what I'm
did,
saying. Okay.
what he did was inappropriate. We agree
Yeah.
on that. My point is, we have to rewrite the HR stuff because here's what I think is happening to Cuomo, which fair and unfair. He got to own this, but here's what is happening. If we're all acknowledging that these conversations that are inappropriate take place all the time, it is kind of a jerk move to come out of the woodworks and say, "Hey, this person said this to me. It is inappropriate, but we can ask questions about the context of the conversation, right?" So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, the strip poker comment.
Mm-hmm.
Are we not going to ask any questions about, okay, what was the conversation being had before that comment and after the comment? Were you sitting there laughing with the rest of them? Right? Like all of
Mm-hmm.
this stuff matters to me
Yeah.
because that changes how you view somebody on scale um from Louis C.K. to Harvey Weinstein. That is an extreme scale. Louis C.K. is not Harvey Weinstein. Now, both of these behaviors are inappropriate,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not the same thing. One is actual rape.
Mm-hmm.
One is not. It's creepy, weird, inappropriate behavior. You
Yep.
shouldn't be out there just jerking off in front of women just because it's very
Mm-hmm.
inappropriate, right? And what I'm saying is I am troubled by the Me Too stuff that we do to people, where somebody comes out, another person comes out, another person comes out, and we decide that the man should kind of go down just because of the volume of the accusations when we're not acknowledging the context, even though me and you both just said this stuff happens at work literally all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it
It
feels
does.
hypocritical for me to talk shit about Cuomo when, like I said, I was at work talking about how gorgeous Leonardo DiCaprio is. with my female coworkers, we've had conversations. We had conversations about, I mean, inappropriate ain't the word. I'm talking about sex. I mean, graphic sex talk. Even thinking about it, I'm like, how do we get there? But it just kind of happens. So I just think we need to kind of rewrite the HR rules a little bit because
Yep.
everyone knows what's going on at work, but we still have these laws that are kind of like gotcha. Meaning, if somebody someday decides in the future that, you know what, I'm gonna go tell HR what you said to me, 2-3 months ago, and then I lose my job and no one asks the context, meaning we were all sitting around being inappropriate. So are we all gonna lose our jobs? And that's all I wanted to say. There's not me excusing Cuomo. Look, if you are the governor, you have to put yourself in a position where you are untouchable, right? I've said for a long time, if I was a man at a corporation, one woman, one would have direct contact with me, right? Like, so let's say if I'm the boss, right? I would have a female, whatever is right below the boss,
Okay.
who I interact with.
Okay.
Everyone else who's a female employee or coworker would interact with the woman I put in place right below
Got it.
me,
Okay.
and I would just interact with her. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I would kind of insulate myself from all of this stuff. And I would just
Mm-hmm.
kind of, keep you stay over there, I stay over here. But I would just like for us to clean up the sexual harassment stuff at work because we know all of this inappropriate conversation is taking place. And so to me, we should kind of just, instead of running from it, we should be adults, come to the table and decide, okay, how are men and women going to interact at work in a way that is fair and safe for all of the employees involved?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a difficult conversation to have. It's going to be a lot of disagreements. But to me, running away from it and not having a conversation, you just leave yourself open to things like this, where even if he did everything that he's accused of, Shannon, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? Once again, we all agree it's inappropriate and he shouldn't be doing it. But I'm asking you, 1 to 10, 10 being
I don't really think that I should be rating it because I feel like it all comes down to the woman's experience and how uncomfortable she felt. So I don't know if I'm gonna like.
No, but we're all agreeing that what he did is inappropriate. Like,
yeah,
he shouldn't have done it.
But I don't want to rate the level of severity of it, because I feel like that's weird to do.
I hear you, but we also have to have objective standards, right? Like we have to. There's a reason why in law we have like degrees, right? Like we have assault, then we have assault in the second degree, right? So we do have to draw these lines, regardless of how it is for an individual person's experience, in order for us to agree on the appropriate level of punishment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason I was asking, because if you would have said, "Oh, this is severe," then maybe I'm like, okay, well, maybe he should lose his maybe he should resign. But based off of what I've heard, like I said, it sounds extremely inappropriate. But I heard nothing that rose to us. I mean, the kiss was assault.
Yeah, the kiss is the kiss. That's the really bad thing that I was gonna point out.
Yeah, but once again, I would want to know the context. And by the way, I don't think that makes me I don't think I'm contributing to rape culture because I want to know the context.
Was that a kiss on the lips or a kiss on the cheek?
I think it was the lips. I'm pretty sure it was the lips. Why would she tell about it? Because a kiss on the cheek, I'm pretty sure it was the lips.
That's really inappropriate. That's like,
it is. But once again, what's the context? Did she kiss him ever before?
Oh, I mean, I don't know.
That's why I want to know the context, because it just feels weird for us to kind of just judge this person based off of inappropriate interactions, even though we know at our workplaces we engage in inappropriate behavior all the time. Right? So like I said, it's not a defense of Cuomo. I'm just trying to help clean up the culture, I think. Because once we know the rules, then I could judge people on, hey, you knew the rules beforehand, so you got to go. But it seems like everyone is breaking the rules, men and women alike, at work all the time, all day long, 24, inappropriate.
Yeah.
So, but we can move on.
I see what you're saying.
I don't think he'll resign.
No. Well, he said he wasn't going to. I don't think he will either.
Well, it depends what comes out between now and like
yeah.
Because one thing I will say is with these stories, I mean, it usually starts it's like a drizzle, and then it rains, and then like the dam breaks, and it's like it's just
flood.
Like yeah. So
next week, let's see how many accusers he has next week. That's how these things always go.
It always, it never fails. It'd be like, you doing what? Oh no, you gotta go, Cuomo. You gotta go. So let's go ahead and shift our focus to the Democrats being some backstabbing two-timing son of a bitches. Right? That's what's happening here. I can't believe the media is letting them get away with this stuff, man. These dudes ran on in Georgia. They ran on, number one, $2,000 checks.
$2,000 checks.
Immediately. Now we are talking about no. So then shortly after that, it went down to $1,400 checks.
$1,400.
Right?
Yep.
And it wasn't immediately because it is March and we still don't have my money.
It is March, yes.
And then now, Shannon, we are talking about $1,400, depending on how much you get in 2019.
Yep.
And this is not what was promised.
It's not what was promised, not at all.
And this
are we surprised though? Really?
No, no. We're not surprised. But I told y'all this was going to happen. I told y'all this was going to happen. You see, you know what? You know what the thing is? I keep telling y'all, both of these parties, both of them, they don't care. We are stuck with Tweedledee and Tweedledum, right? Two people who they don't care about us at all. But
who's Tweedledee and Tweedledum?
Tweedledee, No, Democrats and Republicans.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
two parties who neither one of these parties have the interests of the American people first and foremost. That is
Nope.
not what these parties are built upon. Now, once again, I'm not saying that there aren't individuals within each party that care. Of course they are. But the establishments of both of these parties don't care about the American people at all. They care about us as a means to an end, which is lining their own goddamn pockets with money, right? And so I keep trying to tell y'all that they put on this performance that they are fighting for us and they hate the other side. I'm trying to tell y'all, these people, once the cameras are off, they hang out with each other. They talk with each other. They're out there having weird sex parties with each other. Like they do not have this level of vitriol that y'all think they have. They don't. And so when this happened, Shannon wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. No. But unfortunately, some of you guys listening and watching this right now, y'all were actually surprised because you believed them when they said, oh, if you vote for us in Georgia, you're going to get $2,000 checks immediately. And now, depending on how much you win in 2019, you might be getting zero. Just think about that. We went from 2,000 to zero, just like that, without any backlash by the mainstream media. They just like, oh, Republicans. No, this doesn't have anything to do with Republicans. The Democrats don't need to do anything to their bill to get it through the Senate. But here we are. Here we are.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy to me. Well, that part is not crazy to me because I understand that. But what's crazy to me is the fact that they're trying to limit who gets checks and who's not, because I just feel like it's kind of weird to say that the experiences that each individual American has had to go through during this pandemic. Like, you don't know, even if I'm making a significant amount of money and I technically don't need a $1,400 check, you don't know where my money was going all this whole past year. You don't know what kind of family I had to take care of or what kind of extra financial burden I had to take on to like support other people who were not doing so well. Like, it's all kind of messed up, really.
I want to read some details about the cutoffs, right? So it says the Senate plan will still allow individuals earning up to $75,000 per year and couples earning up to $150,000 per year to receive the full benefits. But the payments would phase out more quickly and end entirely for individuals earning $80,000 or more and couples earning $160,000 or more. The cutoffs in the House bill were much higher, with individuals earning up to $100,000 and couples earning up to $200,000 still receiving benefits. So once again, in the House bill, the cutoffs were $100,000 for an individual. In the Senate plan, it's gone down $25,000 to a $75,000 cutoff, right? This is disgusting, right? And for liberal House Democrats are actually making the point that I'm about to make. So let me just read it here. It says, some liberal House Democrats, particularly those representing large cities with higher living costs, have argued in the past that lower phase-outs for the checks discriminate against single parents in those areas. So far, none has explicitly weighed in on the bill. There are also concerns that the payments will be based on 2019 income unless taxpayers have already filed their 2020 tax returns and had them accepted by the IRS. That means people who lost jobs or income in 2020 but have not filled out their taxes might miss out on the full value of the payment for weeks or possibly until tax time. The only good part is Senate Democrats and the White House agreed to keep a provision that would increase federal unemployment benefits to $400 per week through the end of August. You know what? It has to be said. Democrats really are worse than Republicans in some respects because they sell the illusion that they care about, poor people, right? And so Republicans get the accusation that they don't care about the poor because of their political positions. And to a certain extent, they don't, because it's part of their ideology. They believe in small government. If you believe in small government, it means that you don't have the tax revenue to help the poor and the most vulnerable. And so to a certain extent, I respect it because they're just saying, look, I don't think that's the role of the government. Well, I might agree or disagree, but that's how they feel. The Democrats put themselves out there as this ally of the poor, this ally of the disenfranchised, this ally, of people being crushed by the system, and we need the government to help uh, ease that burden. And then they do shit like this, just sleazy things, building cutoffs without even thinking. Once again, if I was making a certain amount of money, Shannon made this point. If I was making a certain amount of money in 2019, you don't know if I'm making that now. Matter of fact, most people lost jobs, even if you still have your business, you definitely aren't making as much in revenue as you were 2-3 years ago. And so now you're not going to get a check because these dudes decided to draw a line in the sand when they didn't say that when they needed your vote. That's another thing. If you ran on this in Georgia before and you said, well, look, yes, we're going to give out assistance to people who need it, but unlike before, we're going to have a cutoff based on income. I can respect that because you said something and you're sticking to your word.
Yep.
But you purposely lied. You purposely lied to me to get my vote, and now you are going to try to repackage this bullshit as if you're helping me, but you're not, because you are a man who you are a dishonest actor. And if there's nothing that I hate the most, I hate people who lie, right? And so unfortunately, it's not like we could do anything about it because we only have two parties. And so, you are either going to vote for the Democrats or you're going to vote for the Republicans. That's why they feel emboldened to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
I can't stand it, man.
Yep. It is very sickening.
So let me just read some more details about the new Senate bill. The new version of the bill includes more money for rural hospitals. Okay. More generous access to federal programs for live venue operators, a tax benefit for student loan borrowers, and changes to the $350 billion pot of state and local money. So you have that. Look, some of the stuff is good. I like the student loan relief, tax free. I like to increase the Cobra healthcare. All of that good stuff. I just don't like that the main part of this bill that you ran on, and in some respects, the reason you won, you are going back on those promises. It just makes you look real sleazy, man.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm not gonna just.
But again, not surprised.
Yeah,
just
I'm not.
disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna harp too much on that. My blood pressure's getting high. And so we had another bill. This one Shannon brought to our attention. There was no announcement that it passed, which basically the House passed a police reform act named for George Floyd. And so it's going to the Senate. It needs 10 Republican votes. I don't know if they'll get it or not. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get it or not. But basically, what the bill would do, among other things, it would ban neck restraints, no-knock warrant in drug cases at the federal level, and also reform qualified immunity, which is basically kind of a set of laws, or a law that prevents an individual from being sued for misconduct. I believe you have to sue the entire police department. So a couple of things before Shannon goes. I am very, very interested to see what the other things is in the bill. Like whenever I see that phrasing, the bill, among other things, I get, okay, well, what are the other things in the bill? Because they do try to stuff stuff into these bills that has nothing to do with the headline. And then you wonder why it didn't pass, but then you realize, oh, y'all trying to do that? But okay, I see now. So I want to know what the other things are. But Shannon, what are your thoughts? Go ahead.
I think this is great. These are some issues that need to be addressed, especially qualified immunity. We've been trying to knock that out the woods for a while now. So, this is a good thing. If it passes, it'll be great, but we'll see. Holding my breath on the Republicans that have to vote to make it pass because they're heartless individuals. So I don't know.
So banning the neck restraints, I agree with, generally speaking. Getting rid of no-knock warrants, I absolutely agree with.
You don't agree with getting rid of qualified immunity?
So here's what I wanted to say about the qualified immunity. It's not that I don't agree with getting rid of it. I do want to maybe explore why that would be a thing to begin with, right? So imagine you're a police officer, Shannon, right?
Mhm.
You're a police officer, and you are policing the worst neighborhoods in New York City. You know, Brownsville, bad neighborhoods in the Bronx. You know, just where there's a high level of gun violence, higher rates of assault, right? So, as you are policing, Shannon, wouldn't you agree that to a certain extent, the fact that you don't have to worry about being financially liable, it keeps you from maybe second guessing every single decision that you have to make in a position where you are making a bunch of split second decisions?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, um, I, I understand why people want to get rid of qualified immunity, but you might end up having kind of a new problem, which is now that each individual cop can be liable for lawsuit, you might have
Mhm.
a situation where they don't act as swiftly as they normally would because they are afraid of getting sued. Now, on the one hand, you can say that's what we want, but on the other hand, depending on the situation, most cops deal with like domestic violence situations. They deal with assault. It's rare that cops are out here just drive around the neighborhood targeting random civilians. Most of the time they are there for a specific reason, meaning they were called there by a civilian. And
Mhm.
so they're interacting with individuals where emotions are high, where sometimes people are on drugs and intoxicated. Do we want police thinking about, if I do something wrong here, I might have my entire pension taken away and my life ruined
But
financially? Do we
I
want that?
I mean, but I also don't agree with police basically I don't agree with them having immunity when they're using their force irresponsibly or when it's not called for. And I feel like we've seen a lot of instances where that's come into play when they don't, when it wasn't necessary to use the force that they used. But because this law is there, they can kind of skate around it.
But
They
have
use
we have
mm,
we seen because you use an interesting word. You said we've seen multiple occasions. True, but those are minority though. Like most cops don't even
okay.
have like people. Most cops don't fire their weapon. I mean, the overwhelming majority of the police officers, they actually retire without ever having to discharge their weapon. I know it sounds crazy, but that is what most cops go through. They don't shoot anyone from the time that they leave the academy until the time that they retire. So I, I'm not saying I disagree with getting rid of qualified immunity. I'm just saying when I read this article, I just kind of thought of, okay, well, like why would they have created this law in the first place? And then I think about, okay, what would happen if they got rid of the law? And are we creating a new problem by trying to solve a problem that we have now? And maybe we should think this through. I'm just saying, policing is different than most other jobs, right? Where you need to be making split second decisions with the most violent slash intoxicated slash emotionally extreme people. So then
Mhm.
they're not operating with sane people. Usually, police, like when a police officer is called, they're being called for a reason. And so they're operating with somebody who puts them kind of in an environment where they have to be making these split second decisions. I just think maybe if they're worried about, well, I might get sued, so maybe I would just be slow to to intervene in this domestic abuse situation because I'm thinking
I
about
mean,
myself.
I understand the point you're trying to make to that as well. Maybe I don't know. It's a hard situation that you just brought to my attention. I hate when you make sense.
No, because the first two I agree with. The neck restraints got to go, and I definitely agree about the no knock warrants because to me, above anything, it's a violation of your civil rights.
I just feel like, well, yes, it may not happen often. I still feel like it's an issue that needs to be addressed because, just because it doesn't happen often doesn't mean that it doesn't affect, the families or the individuals whom, in that case, it is applying to. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Maybe they need to just take that and look at it and maybe do something with it, like reword it or change what it's supposed to change the protections of it. I don't know.
Well, they said reform here. They didn't say abolish.
Okay,
so
yes.
In here it says reform.
Okay, yes. So then, yes, so if they're reforming it, I completely agree with that. Yeah. I feel like it does need to be looked at.
I would need to know what the reform recommendations are before I can make a decision on how I feel about the last part. The first two, I definitely agree with. Get rid of the neck restraints, get rid of the no-knock warrants because they are a violation of civil rights. People should not be searching your residency without a warrant. I don't care if they think, there's a 95% chance that he has crack cocaine in his apartment. Get a warrant then. So I'm totally against no-knock warrants. Mm-hmm. So look, overall, I think it's a good thing. It'll have very little impact on policing, though. I do want to make that point because this is about federal laws.
Yeah.
So you have federal, you have state, then even low in the state, you have your local, cities and county laws as well. And so police really, to really change police, you want to operate from like the bottom up. And so you want to go, to like the counties, then like cities, then the state, and that's where you'll get the most impact on your police laws. Federal, I mean, most people aren't really dealing with federal police like that, unless you're like El Chapo or something like that. You're not dealing with federal police.
Yeah,
exactly. The day-to-day person is dealing with cops on a city or state level. So that's 1 hour. We got to the end of the show.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay.
End of the show. So this was a very, very good one. I feel like we tapped into a lot of conversations here. I'm very excited to see what happens between today and next week. To see if the Cuomo stuff got better or worse. I
feel like it'll only get worse.
Yeah, no idea. I was shocked that he had a press conference.
He had a press conference today?
Either it was today or it was yesterday. I think it was today, but it could have been yesterday.
Yeah, I missed that.
Because that's where he said that he's not going to resign. He was doing his live from Albany thing where he's like, I never assaulted anybody. At the time, I didn't know people were offended by this, and so it took balls for him to do that. I thought he was definitely going to like lay low and just kind of tweet.
I mean, that's usually the thing to do. You should probably lay low, but whatever.
See, I disagree. I think even if you did something wrong, I think you should come out as soon as possible to face the media. Because the longer you're away, it's going to make it harder to come back.
That's true.
So I think the opposite. Come out and just...
after he said that, now he should lay low. He made a statement, and now I feel like he should probably lay low.
Yeah, he shouldn't come back until the independent investigations are complete about his office or his allegations, whatever. So that's what I would do. Mm-hmm. But so thank you for joining us once again for another week of the Black Column Podcast. Any last thoughts, Shannon?
No, I think I'm good.
Same here. Thank you guys for rocking with us. We will. Next week I'm going to reveal my my because Shannon told me to wait till March, but we didn't have no time to do it.
Oh no!
Wait.
First of all,
what?
Why are we even talking about this? Because you said told me you didn't want to go into these independent discussions anymore. So I feel like we should not have this conversation.
No, this is not a this is not a conversation. First of all, Shannon told me that I had to wait till March. You said that specifically. I remember it. I wrote it down in my notes.
Well, yeah, but I don't want you to talk about it at all. But I said if you had
March.
But I don't want you to talk about it at all. But I said if you had to, which you're making it seem like you have to, then don't do it during Black History Month. That's what I said.
This is a great political point that I have to make. But Shannon told me. With the evidence, I don't want to be even debating this. You said specifically, I don't want to hear about this now. Push it to March. And I wrote it down. I said, okay, I'm gonna push it to March. And we didn't have time to get to it today. So next week, people, I'm gonna be talking about how the white man is the black man's natural political ally. Right?
I don't agree with this topic of conversation. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to throw that out there. But he's making me, so there you go. So
that's gonna be, it's gonna be like a 5-minute discussion. It's not gonna be a long drawn out discussion. I'm gonna say something and then Shannon will disagree. And I'm gonna convince her to go. All right. So we will see you guys next week. Until next time, deuces.
Bye.